folks, welcome back to Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. So we're starting this video mid-inspection process and working down here in the yard. So I just got done doing a combine over there with hive 11 and 5. So this hive here, number 14, when I inspected it, it's very strong, and you notice it doesn't have a honey super on it. I did that on purpose so I wouldn't have to mess with a super when I go back into it. So it's been about a week and a half since I've been in here, and I found swarm cells on 2 frames. So I was letting those swarm cells, they were not capped. I'm letting them finish them off, and I'm going to take those swarm cells and maybe move some, and if I can spot the queen in here, I'm going to move that queen into a nuke, and that'll be like an artificial swarm for that queen, and she won't swarm. And then I can replenish this hive with the queen that comes out of a swarm cell, and I might be able to make another split. So let's get in here and see what we find and come up with a plan. Okay, I'm going to try not to put a lot of smoke in here because I'm going to be looking for the queen. So this is the last week of March in central Oklahoma. Nectar flow has started, red buds are in full bloom. And a week and a half ago, I inspected most of my hives and I found 2 that had swarm cells. This was one of them. Take a quick look up here for the queen just in case. They're seeming to be fairly calm. Knock on wood. So this hive is loaded with resources. It's still fairly heavy. So here's a full honey frame left over from last year. This is a heavy frame. It's a honey frame as well. And we're seeing a little bit of pollen here on the bottom of this one. So I'm liable to see brood on the one next to it. Bees put their pollen next to the brood so they can feed it to the young larvae. Yeah, this is a brood frame. And there's fresh eggs on here. So I'm going to look real close for our queen. And that's drone brood there on the bottom of that frame. Oh yeah, she's been laying all over this. Where there's an empty cell, there's an egg in it. Don't see her. I just broke a queen cup. So this frame didn't have queen cups on it before, and it does now. Look at the number of bees on this frame. It is just packed. It's going to be hard to spot the queen. See where I messed up this queen cell? They tore. It was connected to the box below. So before, these 2 frames here are the ones I saw queen cells on. So they've added them to this one. Some of them still look like they're not quite finished off. I figured they would be finished off by now. Or maybe a little bit early. Yeah, I had my frames mixed up. Well, I can't tell if that's a queen cell or not. It looks like one, but I don't know if they finished it. Oh, here's our queen. She's marked green. I want to set her aside. Okay, there's our queen. She's green, which means she's last year's queen. So she's a 1-year-old. So usually, well, not usually, sometimes they're less apt to swarm if it's a younger queen. But that's not the case in this case right here. I'm going to set them on this bottom board so that queen, if she falls off, will still be in the hive. So now what we need to do is get this queen and this new artificial swarm resources they need to thrive. So we need to give them a brood frame or 2, because this will hold 5, and which she's on a brood frame now, and we need to get some honey and some pollen in there too. Gosh, I keep breaking these queen cells off. So since those broke, I'm going to go ahead and clean them off and put this in there with her. So that'll be 2 brood frames. So I've got this other brood frame I'm going to put in there, and it's got some queen cells that broke in half when I pulled it off of there. So I'm going to scrape these off in case they try to finish them up. I don't want another queen developing in this nuke with the permanent queen. So we got those cleaned off of there. I'm going to put this in there right next to her. Okay, so since we found the queen, we can be a little more generous with our smoke. And when you're looking for resources for the bees, when you're pulling a split, they usually go right in the order that you need. So since I just pulled out a brood frame and it looked like the last one, this should have some pollen on it, maybe even a little bit of honey. Yeah, so we've got capped honey, we've got nectar, and there's eggs laid here and capped larvae. So that's perfect. So now I'll center these up, and we'll put a honey frame on each side, which that's what we've got right here. And the first frame I took out's a honey frame. Here's our other honey frame. Okay, so there's our 5-frame split, which is an artificial swarm. At least that's what I call it. So we took the original queen out of this hive. There are swarm cells in here for them to make a new queen with. And there are eggs in there if the swarm cells, if they all got destroyed, because a lot of them got cracked open when I moved those frames around. Most of the time you'll have quite a few that survive that. So we're going to move that nuke over to position number 1. Right there. Okay, so we got that nuke moved over into position number 1. It's all set with the original queen. Now we have to take care of hive 14 and get 5 frames back in here. Okay, so we need to get this centered back up. So I'm not going to pull any more splits off this right now because I don't know the status of those swarm cells. And I'm afraid I might be a little bit early to do this because those cells weren't closed off. I'm going to put this blank one between brood frames. Okay, for hive 14, we just created a queenless hive. They have all the resources they need in here to make them a new queen. There's some swarm cells in there. Some of them may not be viable because when we pulled the frames out, the cells broke off. Some look like they were still in the process of being built. So we need to give this hive a little more time, but we definitely have to follow up with it and check on it and make sure we didn't create a queenless hive permanently. So there are eggs in here as well that they could pull a super seeder queen off of if they need to do that. So we need to follow up in a week on this hive and check it out, make sure it's okay and that we haven't created a queenless situation, which I don't think we have. So that's it for the video. Give me a thumbs up if you would, and be sure and subscribe on your way out. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.